The WNBA is on fire. Something unprecedented is taking place. People are interested in women's basketball. See, I can't even say it correctly. It's so insane. They're even watching women's basketball at a clip that we've never seen before. Hard fouls, high viewership, high flying action.
WNBA, you kidding me? I can't get enough. It's fucking high flying action.
Today, I'm gonna take a look at the rise in WNBA viewership, the major players sparking the league's interest, and the intense polarization that's taking place around the dialogue surrounding the league. We all know Caitlin Clark is bringing in the eyeballs, okay? But is something else going on here? Has the WNBA been really, really good this whole time and we just didn't know, like Bryan Cranston before Breaking Bad? Is Caitlin Clark bringing meth to the WNBA? And by meth, I of course mean the method acting it takes to play a meth dealer.
What?
Regardless, I find it all fascinating, and I wanted to break it all down today in an episode of Wait, can I, Brandon Perna, go balls deep into the WNBA? Is it sexist if I don't go balls deep into the WNBA? I don't want a new viewer to get the wrong... Okay, we're going balls deep into the WNBA. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel. Today's episode is sponsored by Underdog Fantasy. Yeah, you can get in on the action on WNBA games right now on Underdog. They've already had multiple specials for Caitlin Clark, for Angel Reese, players we're going to be talking about today. So just make sure you use my link in the description or my code ThatsGood when you sign up. You can do multiple player picks in their higher or lower games or the championship games in states like Colorado. And of course, it's the Best Ball Mania summer. $15 million in total prizes for Best Ball Mania 4. $1.5 million going to the first place finisher. In Best Ball, what's a Best Ball fantasy draft? Well, you draft your fantasy team now and then you forget about it, okay? Because Underdog uses your best point totals every week in your leagues to determine a winner. And if you're really, really good, you can win massive prizes by playing right now. Just use my code when you sign up or the link below. The only way we will know for sure that the WNBA is thriving is if this video of mine does well. And I don't say that selfishly, but YouTube is an accurate gauge for what is hot in the sports world. Let's get a little background though on the WNBA. The WNBA was established by the NBA Board of Governors on April 24, 1996 as the women's equivalent of the NBA, with the inaugural season tipping off in 97. It was a time for expansion in all sports, as the NFL also added the Jacksonville Jaguars and Carolina Panthers to the league in 1995. The regular season of the WNBA runs from May to September, featuring the All-Star Game in July except during Olympic years, aka this year, and concludes with the WNBA Finals from late September to early October, where it's forced to compete with the kickoff of the NFL season and MLB playoffs. Now, among the WNBA teams, 5 have direct NBA affiliates and typically share the same venue. The Indiana Fever with the Pacers, the Los Angeles Sparks with the Lakers, the Minnesota Lynx with the T-Wolves, New York Liberty with the Brooklyn Nets, and the Phoenix Mercury with the Suns. Other teams like the Atlanta Dream, the Chicago Sky, Connecticut Sun, Dallas Wings, Las Vegas Aces, which is owned by Mark Davis and Tom Brady, Seattle Storm, and Washington Mystics do not share arenas with NBA teams, although 4 of those teams, the Dream, the Sky, the Wings, and the Mystics, are obviously located in the same markets as NBA teams. The NBA allocates an annual subsidy exceeding $15 million to the WNBA, which aids in covering the operational expenses of the WNBA teams, including facility management, travel, marketing, and administrative costs. Staplers.
I believe you have my stapler.
By 2023, the ownership of the WNBA was split equally between the NBA and the 12 WNBA teams, each holding a 50% stake. The WNBA's revenue streams from ticket sales, merchandise, and broadcast deals fall short of the amounts needed to sustain the league independently, leading to lower profitability compared to the NBA. Quite lower, in fact. Obviously, this was going to result in lower salaries for WNBA players who make a fraction of their male counterparts, something that's been a hot button issue for many years. Now, the NBA is, unsurprisingly, one of the world's most profitable professional sports leagues, with an average player salary of about $9.6 million per year, a result of fan interest, ticket sales, and insanely lucrative deals with the league's broadcast partners. Now, in contrast, the WNBA operates on a smaller financial scale. The average salary in the WNBA is $102,000 per year, though this figure may increase under new rules. The league's salary structure is tiered, with fourth-tier players earning around $56,000 and core players making up to approximately $242,000. Despite the lower base salaries, WNBA players have opportunities for bonuses and endorsements, though they are typically less lucrative compared to their NBA counterparts again. Now, much like the WNBA, there was a time when the NBA was in dire financial straits, with the key difference being there was no one keeping them afloat. But back in the late 70s, the NBA was wrestling with an image problem. There was a lot of drug use. Fans and executives didn't like that it was becoming a black sport, and attendance was hovering around just 8,000 fans per game, while some of the biggest games, even the NBA Finals, were shown on a tape delay, if that gives you any idea of where interest was in the league. Then, of course, a couple guys by the name of Magic Johnson, a first overall pick out of Michigan in 1979, and Larry Bird, the sixth overall pick out of Indiana in 78, arrived on the scene, and the league took off in the 80s, expanding all the way from 17 teams to the powerhouse 30-team league we know today. It's hard to undersell how pivotal the Bird versus Magic rivalry was for the league. It had something for everyone. Pure basketball fans got to watch two of the best players on earth go at it. The rivalry dated back to college. The Celtics were the bad guys dominating the league, and Magic helped resurrect a floundering Lakers organization as he paired with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, one of the greatest centers to ever play the game. The talent was there, the rivalry was there, the quality was there, and of course the racists could root for black versus white. The WNBA and people with a vested interest in the WNBA are hoping they're at a similar inflection point in its history. Enter Caitlin Clark, a sharpshooter from the University of Iowa, who became the NCAA's all-time leading scorer, a two-time National Player of the Year, and was selected first overall in the 2024 WNBA draft by the Fever. Aptly named because the WNBA is hoping this is contagious. Now, I think most importantly, Caitlin Clark got casual fans interested in women's college basketball, drawing 12.3 million viewers for the 2023 National Championship against LSU and another 19 million viewers a year later in the Natty against South Carolina. Whenever people talk about the recent explosion of interest in women's basketball, they're typically referring to the Caitlin Clark effect. And it should be a great thing for the sport. With more people watching, broadcast deals are going to become more expensive for networks, players are going to get endorsements like they've never seen before, and the average base salary is going to get a huge bump. It's good for everyone playing. Of course, it's not all Caitlin. A lot of the interest stems from the drama with her rival, former LSU star Angel Reese. A rivalry born in heaven, just like her name would suggest. Now, the rivalry between Reese and Clark shares many similarities with the legendary Magic Johnson and Larry Bird rivalry, starting with the face-off in the NCAA championship. In 2023, Reese's LSU Tigers played against Clark's Iowa Hawkeyes in a game that became the most-watched women's college basketball event ever. Unlike Magic and Bird's contest, the Reese-Clark showdown featured some actual trash talk. Reese famously taunted Clark by pointing to her finger to show off her championship ring or where it would be going. The same way I taunted my now wife with my ring finger when I wanted her to know it was time to propose to me. Since then, both players have become must-see TV, especially when they face off, which is actually pretty often because there are only 12 teams. Although Reese and Clark do not earn salaries comparable to Magic and Bird, each earning less than $75,000 from their teams this season, they have secured lucrative endorsement deals. Both were earning millions in endorsements while still in college, with Clark reportedly signing a $28 million deal with Nike. Back in 1979, Magic turned down a Nike deal that would have paid him in company shares, which would now be worth $5.2 billion. He's still a billionaire with a net worth hovering around $1.2 billion, but Caitlin, if Nike offers you shares, take it. Also, don't forget, with my deal with Underdog Fantasy, if we get 10,000 signups, they're not gonna pay me $1 billion, but they're gonna pay me $1 million. Again, code That's Good, Underdog, use it for my sake. Like most things in the year of our Lord 2024, any rivalry that features a black player and a white player is going to become a racial touchstone, right? Magic and Bird generally avoided stirring racial tensions themselves, and Reese and Clark seem to want the same. Clark has directly spoken against using her name to push agendas after many black and gay players in the WNBA were subjected to abuse on social media, with some accusing Clark of being targeted due to her whiteness. And believe me, she is white as fuck. So let's talk about that. Clark has been on the receiving end of a number of hard fouls, including one blow to the head by Angel Reese herself, and another foul by Trinity Carter before the ball was inbounded from the baseline. And I think anyone with eyes can tell you that some of these fouls are hard physical plays, while other ones are just clearly targeting. Clark's a pretty slight player by WNBA standards. She plays a finesse style of basketball closer to Steph Curry than Magic Johnson, and the question becomes whether or not this is regular rookie indoctrination into a physical game, or whether Clark is getting essentially beaten up for another reason. And of course, it's become an issue that's veered into the realm of race. Jason Whitlock has shared his 2 cents, Bill Maher talked about it on HBO, and even U.S. Representative Jim Banks wrote a letter to WNBA Commissioner Kathy Engelbert, saying Clark has experienced resentment and repeated attacks from fellow players. Now, Whitlock and Maher, they're baiters. Not race baiters exclusively, just baiters for fucking attention. Their opinions are utterly meaningless and not reflective of what's actually happening, in my opinion. And when a congressman is writing the commish, it's for PR. Banks is an Indiana representative, but the fact that these dudes are talking about it, it means the WNBA is relevant right now. If Clark is going to be a driving force for WNBA players to get more attention and ultimately a bigger paycheck, then it seems like the opposite of resentment should be taking place by her peers in the league. But I guess it's not that simple. Of course, you can't paint the 143 other players in the WNBA with the same brush. Anytime that Clark hits the deck, it's not fair to say all WNBA players and its base hate her, right? It would be like saying the entire NFL hated kicking nets because of what that net did to OBJ. But there are certainly players past and present that don't really like Clark or the attention that Clark has been getting for the past couple years. Just take a look at what Cheryl Swoop said about Clark breaking the NCAA scoring record.
If Kelsey Plum set that record in 4 years, well, Caitlin should have broke that record in 4 years. So is it truly a broken record?
A lot of comments like that are just silly and come off as gatekeeping or jealousy. There's also the Team USA snub, which I think is frankly ridiculous. I don't think you can find 12 better female basketball players in this country right now better than Caitlin Clark. But they kept her off the roster for the Paris Olympics, which is only going to hurt them. It's also why I'm rooting for Italy. Am I? I don't know. That bitterness to new young stars who haven't earned their stripes in the top pro league is nothing new though. While the NFL is more respectful than ever and it's gross in terms of players and players loving each other instead of hating their rival, there's still some hate out there. Caleb Williams was the first overall pick by the Bears, and he's caught more heat for painting his nails than any WNBA player ever will. Hell, Jeffrey Simmons on Rich Eisen's show just said this about Caleb.
Painted nails.
In a game.
Painted nails.
I can't wait to say that to him.
For Caleb Williams.
Most definitely.
But we love that. We eat it up. We encourage it for the NFL. We see fights break out on the field all the time. We cherish rivalries. Hell, it's been almost 20 years and I still think about Jake Cutler and Phillip Rivers getting into it.
Cutler failing to convert on fourth down, and look at Phillip Rivers starts jawing with him, with Matt Wilhelm, the linebacker, waving bye-bye. A couple guys, actually.
Sports need that. People want that. The difference is it's embraced by NFL fans. I think this rivalry is being embraced by WNBA fans and non-fans possibly becoming fans because they're trying to tell us it's a bad thing. And I fucking love it. The only thing we need to see next is the veteran players back Caitlin a little bit and realize she's the best thing for the league and any future player coming into the league. It was nice to see Diana Taurasi and Brittany Griner welcome Clark to the league like seasoned leaders of the WNBA. Now, after spending nearly a year in a Russian prison, I'm sure the person least threatened by Caitlin Clark is Brittany Griner. Regardless, this was cool to see and maybe more surprisingly, nearly unanimously loved on the Bleacher Report's Twitter post. Women's basketball bringing people together on Twitter? It's like a vegan restaurant getting a 5-star review from Joe Rogan. Here's what I kind of understand though. Veteran WNBA players have been toiling for a long time at their craft, making modest salaries and failing or succeeding without much fanfare. Hell, most of them have had to deal with the fact that the WNBA has been a punchline for anyone looking for low-hanging fruit. When we're trying to compare the WNBA to the NFL or the NBA, the players and star players in those leagues have gotten all of their flowers. The WNBA is a blue-collar profession in so many ways that the NBA is not. Then, all of a sudden, this stud player from Iowa enters the league and is painted as the savior of the league.
Jesus.
You said it, man. Nobody fucks with the Jesus.
The messiah for all of women's basketball, and now everyone is talking about and watching the WNBA like never before. Or perhaps they're talking about it without actually watching. I think there is a lot of that going on too. I'm literally doing that right now. I think there's going to be a certain amount of natural resentment when someone is painted as a savior, because it implies that you, your team, and your league needed saving. And while that is objectively true from a financial standpoint, because the WNBA loses money every single year, I get not wanting to bow down to the new great white hope. Or as Pat McAfee might say,
One white bitch.
but that does not mean they should whack her with a 4x4 every time she goes up for a layup. Let's tone it down to a 2x4. I think the resentment is misplaced. They could be pointing it at the media that failed to cover or celebrate their accomplishments pre-Clark. But instead, Clark herself is getting the brunt of their ire. But this tension, whether it's painted through a racial lens or not, has only increased interest in the league. It's being covered more than the results of the games themselves, and I think you can point to a single culprit. Yeah, it's ESPN, and the rest of the media to a lesser extent. I think ESPN is stoking a lot of this fire because they have the most to gain. Smaller market NBA fans know this too well, don't we? Go back to the 2023 NBA playoffs. The Nuggets beat the Lakers in Game 1, but all ESPN talked about was how the Lakers had figured out Jokic in the second half. And their loss was actually a win because ESPN wanted the Lakers to move on. They wanted the eyeballs that come with the Lakers. But the most recent Clark-Reese matchup, that drew 2.3 million viewers, making it the most viewed WNBA game since 2001. Front Office Sports tweeted that 6 networks set records for their most watched WNBA games ever. All of those games were Caitlin Clark games. So she is the draw, but juicing up the rivalries with her, like we have seen with Reese, is the way to keep people engaged. The more they dial up the heat and stoke the fires of racial and misogynistic intrigue, directly or indirectly, we're seeing that more people tune in. And to be fair to ESPN, we're all sports whores for drama. I don't believe ESPN is trying to arm both sides in a potential race war, but I think they and the WNBA both know that the drama is good for business, and unfortunately, race entering the conversation is always going to demand clicks and views and asses in seats in this country, in an election year, no less. Sports fans, all we want to see is greatness. Whether that's someone being great or a team being great. And now Clark has pressure to live up to that hype. She has to be one of, if not the best players in the WNBA, or people will stop caring. Which made the timing of her becoming the first rookie to ever get a triple-double in WNBA history very convenient for this video. Thank you, Caitlin. And also thank you to Angel Reese for kindly timing her double-double record to this video as well. WNBA players clearly love me, Brandon Perna. Fans want to see greatness, either in the players or the teams, and we love when the best players on the best teams go at it on the biggest stage. Think Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs. But if that's not on the menu, what do we watch for? We watch for the storylines, fabricated or not. And here's what I hope happens. I hope we get through this phase of Caitlin Clark's career and people start watching her and her counterparts because they want to see competitive basketball. Is it ever going to be the NBA in terms of popularity? No. But as a guy who likes sports, I'm always in favor of more interesting leagues to occupy my time, especially in the dead of summer. But eventually, let's hope this all dies down. Not the interest, but the division, the divisiveness. And people are left treating the WNBA like a true standalone league. Thanks for watching That's Good Sports. I am Brandon Perna, and you have just subscribed to this channel. I mean, I can't make YouTube automatically do that, so you gotta click the button to do it.